The mayor and the chief of police of Mosinee, Wisconsin, have been arrested. The powerhouse of the city's chief industry, all Office of Public Information, and all public utilities have been seized. The highways are patrolled, and roadblocks have been set up at regular intervals. No one may enter or leave Mosinee without a special permit or visa. How did this all come about so suddenly? How was such a small group able to take over a typical American community so completely? Who organized it? Or perhaps the recording, which you are about to hear, one made last night, will explain it to you.
Hey, Joe, come here a minute. I got a red hot tip for you, Joe. See that guy with the red suspenders driving that car with the bright red fenders. I know he's one of those heavy spenders. Get that communist Joe. He's filling my gal with propaganda, and I'm scared she will meander. Don't want to take a chance that he'll land her. Get that communist Joe. Get that communist Joe. Get that communist Joe.
All right, this is The State Between Us. I am your host, Fritz McLinden, and today we've got a guest in the house who's going to tell us not an unknown, but a definitely under-researched moment in the American sort of Red Scare world. And that is what happened in, I'm going to say it may be wrong. Nick, correct me since you're here if I'm wrong, but Mosinee?
Yep, you got it.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that is in Wisconsin. So Mosinee, Wisconsin. I don't want to give too much away on here at the front, but get ready, listener, for one of the greatest LARPs. I mean, this far outpaces your average Renaissance fair, but I guess it's more of a Renaissance Red Scare, huh? Something like that? A Red Scare fair? Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it now. So, as I've said in the past, I don't really accept the idea that there was like a clean first Red Scare and a clean second Red Scare that neatly line up with the entrance of the U.S. into the First World War and the start of the Cold War, respectively. The way I tend to look at it, the USA has been in a constant state of Red Scare since at least the first time the federal government used the word communism to frighten Americans into supporting their wars against indigenous people in the 19th century. A good argument could be made that this, let's call it a long Red Scare, was built into the founding of the country as we know it today, in that sort of modern sense of America and who are Americans. I think we talked around that theme a lot in the first year of this show. And that said, our long Red Scare does have its highlights. And undoubtedly, one of the most infamous periods of it is the so-called McCarthyist period, immediately following the end of the Second World War, though Joe McCarthy himself is only responsible for like a tiny part of it, really. Today, I'm joined by Nick, a researcher and friend of the show. I might even go so far as to say, functionally speaking, one of the show's researchers, I think, been helping us out a lot with things. And he's been spending his time in, well, all sorts of places, books, archives, talking to folks to bring us an unusual story as far as your typical May Day themed podcast episodes go, or at least May Day week themed. So I'm going to give you guys, dear listeners, a bit of a historical rundown just to set up the scene, like what's happening in this moment that we're going to talk about today. But first, before I do that, Nick, why don't you say hello and give us the kind of long and short of what we're learning about, and maybe talk a little bit about your motivations for approaching the project, like what drew you to it, and how your experience has been working on it as a researcher here. And then I'm going to lay down some context for us. Take it away.
Yeah. Hey. My name is Nick Graf. Like you said, I'm, I guess, an independent researcher. Just a guy, kind of got sucked into a weird story. I just kind of happened upon this story, honestly. And I think I found it while I was looking for some local-ish history project to research. And I'm from Wisconsin, but I live in Iowa. I came across this story, and it was just so, perfectly up my alley and weird that just got completely sucked into it. So I've been spending off and on, not a ton of time, not like all in a row on it, but over the course of like 18 months here and there,
Yeah.
researching it, trying to find sources, traveling around the area, going to some of the locations this took place, and yeah, just trying to track down everything I could. A lot of it was kind of hard to find, but
You got some gems there, Nick.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of can't believe that this didn't end up as a film or a documentary or something that like has been written about in a secondary way outside of like print, because it works so much better now that I have the like radio broadcasts
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
And Nick is I hopefully working on a kind of a larger project where you guys are going to be able to see and hear a lot more of the stuff than we're going to put into the show today. Nick's been nice enough to share some clips with me, and I'm going to work them into the show. But when he's finished with his, let's call it secret project, we'll be sure to promote it here on The State Between Us, and y'all can get the full experience. And it is an experience. Some of these videos you've sent me are genuinely unbelievable. Like they look like a Hollywood production from that time. But yeah, Nick, great to have you, and thanks a lot. So let me do a little bit of background info on the period. I try to keep things short and sweet, but it ends up being probably a little bit too long and very, very bitter. So prepare.
Okay.
All right. So despite, making some protests on the outset here, I am indeed looking at what is usually called the Second Red Scare today with Nick, which is alternately called, as I said, the McCarthyist period, but also the Hooverist period, which is, reference to J. Edgar Hoover really kind of being probably more of the heart of this and for a longer period of time than McCarthy was. But point is, we're talking about anti-communist mania. Basically, the Republican Party sweeps the 1946 elections, much as they had in the 19th century, actually, by attacking their opponents as soft on, quote, communism. So President Truman, he won the presidency as a Democratic nominee, but in true liberal fashion, Truman immediately bows to GOP propaganda and doubles down on his own anti-communist gesturing, which I don't think was hard for him to do. I'm just saying he did it for the right. So this culminated in Executive Order 9835, which is called the Loyalty Order, which authorized J. Edgar Hoover's psychologically maladapted FBI to open investigations into some 4 million federal employees by 1952. This would result in close to 400 firings by the end of it under suspicions of subversion. So rhetorically, the idea of subversion, no surprise here, forms the now standard, quote, communism, fascism, and other forms of totalitarianism or / extremism kind of shtick. You've heard it. But in reality, the Attorney General's list of subversive organizations almost exclusively targeted the left, with the KKK often the only or one of the very few significant examples of a, quote, right-wing subversive organization amid a sea of teachers' unions and labor unions and lefty bookstores like craft guilds, media guilds, feminists, anti-racist organizers, all of that. That's the list. So a Department of Justice list drawn up as early as 1942, finally released in 48. For instance, just as an example, had 154 groups, and 110 of them were said to be literally communists. That's the vibe here. So Truman and the liberals' eagerness to attack the left, to stroke the right, only bolstered pre-existing anti-labor and anti-communist legislation of the 20th century, like the Hatch Act and the Alien Registration Act and the Smith Act. These prosecuted hundreds of so-called communists and their defense attorneys between 41 and 57. So this new spirit of Red Scare state violence had its international counterpart in the Truman Doctrine, which set the pace for the Cold War and saw the Nazi SA intelligence organization of Reinhard Gehlen. Oh, fuck. No, sorry, my bad. I meant to say, which had the definitely not at all Nazi CIA. Sorry. CIA saw the CIA opening a new chapter of fascist horror in Europe called Operation Gladio. Like, this is that moment. So when the Soviet Union started testing atomic weapons and Mao took mainland China in 1949, the US ruling class just lost their damn minds, seeing Soviet spies everywhere, believing that these events were only possible because of some invisible network controlling U.S. policy from the shadows. So, in February of 1950, a relatively unknown senator, an infamously rapey pedo liar and all-around creep, Joseph McCarthy, recorded a speech at the Republican Women's Club in West Virginia in which he claimed that the U.S. State Department already had exactly 205, quote, Communist Party members that were sabotaging the country from within. A month later, the Christian Science Monitor, of all people, wrote a scathing critique of Joe's dumbass and coined the term McCarthyism. Far from toning it down, Joe McCarthy turned his attention on the CIA, making a personal enemy of Allen Dulles, and creating the grudge against the CIA on the conspiratorial right that would eventually, feed into the likes of the John Birch Society, the National Youth Alliance, and stuff like that. People we covered actually in the last episode. Joe would go on, with the help of Donald Trump's personal mentor, Roy Cohn, to wield the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations a few years later, and eventually bury himself in absurdism by confidently televising show trials to a country not quite as bonkers as he was. But in 1950, when the events of today's episode take place, the country's being absolutely bombarded with anti-communist propaganda already, including big-budget studio films like The Red Menace, The Conspirator, and one of my favorites, I Married a Communist, which is also called The Woman on Pier 13.
Those are the orders I received tonight to be carried out without fail. The waterfront is to be shut down from May the 18th for at least 60 days. Therefore, no new contract is to be signed between the union and the owners.
But the union's solid behind them.
Of course it is. If it wasn't, I wouldn't need you. Have your key cells make demands that are bound to be refused. Start a whispering campaign. Accuse the owners of bad faith. Accuse Jim Travis of being a company stooge. You know the techniques. Use them.
So, building off the character archetypes of the noir detective film, which itself, incidentally, was built off the archetypes of Alan Pinkerton's paranoid anti-communist detective novels from decades prior, communists appear in these films as stereotypically like a criminal enterprise, basically, that cynically instrumentalizes an ideology they don't really believe in, stacking paper and bodies as suit-wearing fat cats rake it all in. Many times they're depicted in this sort of cultural milieu in high-class digs, hosting soirees for other traitors to the American way of life as they smoke cigars and chuckle cynically at the rubes who follow them. The fear of a communist invasion, led in by a secret fifth column, probably has its earliest media expression in the 1947 comic book, Is This Tomorrow? America Under Communism, which was illustrated supposedly by Charles M. Schultz, the Snoopy guy. This gives way to the whole Red Dawn / Invasion USA genre of Cold War propaganda that the event that Nick's talking about today is both sort of the beneficiary of, but also one of the weirdest, LARPiest doomer contributions to it that you can probably come up with. So I think that's my Cold War lore dump here up to 1950. So we're entering now, listener, the town. Would you call it a city? How big are we talking here?
Definitely town. It's I think 2,200-ish people at the time. I think it might be even smaller now.
Okay, yeah, so it's a town. It's a town on its way to being a village.
Yeah.
Called Mosinee.
Kind of an interesting thing about this town is they picked it because there were 2 ways in and out of the town, and it was functionally a company town because by far the biggest employer was this paper mill owned by one of the participants in the whole thing, actually. And they chose it because it was easy to control, had a bunch of different nationalities represented. I don't know, I think they just saw it as a representative place they could easily pull this off. But yeah, basically a company town.
Well, they were right. I mean, they transformed the whole thing into a pageant play, basically. Let's talk about who started this thing off then. So we got the guys with the paper mill. We've got press guys. I know the Legion will show up at some point. State officials. So give us the kind of rundown on how this idea probably started, but we know more, I think, about where it went, right? So maybe you can give us that rundown or the start. You tell me.
Yeah. Well, so this was like you said, pageant, I think is the best way to describe it. Maybe like a sort of like a play, sort of, I don't know, like a really high effort LARP.
Yes.
For a day, staged on May Day, 1950. They staged a full-scale mock communist takeover complete with roadblocks, arrests, rationing, propaganda, like full printed and really high effort, like signs and
Yes, like Cyrillic everywhere.
yeah, they went all in on that. And they set about turning this town into the scene of a Soviet takeover.
Right.
No one may enter or leave. No word from the outside world can enter. People are being commandeered, made to tack up banners, pull down the American flag, and other evidences of their former way of life.
It was originated by, like you said, the American Legion would show up at some point, but they're kind of the whole thing here. Basically all the participants were either legionnaires or people the Legion brought in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and one of the originators of the idea, I think he wasn't the originator, but like all of those details are just coming from their word, so who knows for sure. But one of the main guys was Bill Schweinler, who I believe was the editor and maybe even owner of the local paper, the Mosinee Times.
I mean, that's perfect for this. Like he's got his like militant kind of paramilitary friends. And just for listeners who aren't familiar, I don't want to talk about the origin of the Legion again right now, but around this time, maybe a few years before, some of the first like exposés about the Legion began coming out. Inside the Legion being a really important one, where they would just tell us that these guys were like littered with, what we would call fascist or even neo-Nazi propaganda, far right stuff. Like it's in the leadership. So you kind of get a sense of what's possible at this point in the Legion.
Oh, for sure. And I might, given some of the stuff that I've gotten my hands on recently, I might just say there seems to be, at least here, some sort of divide, not so much like conflict, but just like a difference in, I don't know, opinion or affect between the National American Legion and the local posts.
Sure. Okay.
At least this one. Like I got a pretty good interview done by the author of one of the main sources main secondary sources I'm drawing on for this, which is a chapter in the book, The Russians Are Coming, Pageantry and Patriotism in Cold War America. One of the chapters is about this event. The book's by Richard Freed, I think. But I got my hands on an interview by him of Schweinler, and most of that he is spelling out how he didn't see it going exactly the way it did, or so all that to say, it seems like mostly the American Legion National Headquarters is who ended up driving the way this thing went.
Oh, okay. I went all the way up the chain there.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get into this right now, I don't know how this episode will be structured necessarily.
We'll find out at the end.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in that interview, he was talking about how the National Legion was more along the lines of like rally around the flag, loyalty is the whole thing, and that this Schweinler guy, he saw it more as like an educational thing. And he talks about that a bit, says it wasn't so much conflict, just like a difference in opinion. But then the rest of the interview, he seems kind of like he's asked over and over for details about that and what he saw, like what his original vision of it was. And he seemed kind of confused about what exactly they were going for, honestly.
Okay. It gives the image of a guy who sort of, his idea got away from him. Like he was overwhelmed, I guess. Huh?
That's what it seems like in the interview.
That's fair.
And then I remember that since he was the editor of the Mosinee Times, he went so far as to mock up this whole like takeover edition of the paper where they rename it the Red Star. It's got Stalin on the front, and they printed a whole
Rules.
They used their printing presses to print short or a small run of 4-page editions of the Mosinee Times.
Yeah.
And like they didn't just like put filler text in there. I mean, it's most of the content of the text is pretty ridiculous, but like no subtlety or anything like that. But
yeah.
And that makes me think that, he must have been all in a similar way to the National Legion. So I don't really know.
Yeah, it is a bit theatrical, isn't it? It's a bit.
It is, yeah.
The kind of paper you'd find in a tavern during a D&D game or something. It's
yeah.
all headline basically. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so he's got a creative idea here. Let's do a little scare thing, a little like War of the Worlds kind of prank, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and he's got the press, I guess, but he's far from the only press that ends up getting involved in this, right?
Right. I forget the final number, but it was something. I think I saw somewhere like it was either like 480 or a little over 500 stories ran about it nationally.
Damn.
And it was covered, or like a short bit about it was printed in papers in South America and really all around the world. The Soviet news agency, what is it, like TAZ or something like that? I think they sent a reporter and a cameraman.
Really?
Like maggot. Yeah, they did.
Not only did they do this to sort of scare people out of the idea of like a red invasion, but they actually ended up with more Soviets in Mosinee than they had before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well done.
And more communists in general. Like eventually, somehow the Wisconsin Communist Party got word of this shortly beforehand, and they sent some people in the night and they printed out these leaflets and left them on people's doorsteps that the page was titled, "So this is supposed to be communism, says who?"
Yeah.
Kind of ridiculing the idea and laying out how the whole thing kind of just accidentally, it's kind of like projection. They accidentally show, what they're doing, basically.
Their ideal situation. It's like just being able to knock down people's doors, take loyalty tests, burn books. Like maybe we're getting a little ahead of the story with, I'm giving too many hints here, but yeah. So the communists, they showed up, they put up a little resistance. Did they come to the actual event?
I don't think I've seen that anywhere. And nobody apparently saw the people who came into town to drop these leaflets.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a wise move to keep your head down in 1950 if you're in a communist organization. I mean,
yes, true. But yeah, so they staged this whole thing. The National American Legion brought in a couple guys who weren't, I don't think, legionnaires, but they were at least one of them was very, very prominent anti-communist guy, like at all the anti-communist crusade things. One of the first things that was titled Anti-Communist Crusade in any way.
Okay.
He was a speaker at. He's mentioned in a whole bunch of issues of American Legion's magazine before and after this date.
Okay. Nice.
Benjamin Gitlow, they brought him in. And Zach Kornfeeder, Korn Feeder, I think.
You've Gitlow and Kornfeeder?
Gitlow and Korn. There's some ridiculous names in this whole thing, man.
Always. It's my favorite.
The mayor is Cronenwetter. And we got Schweinler.
Oh, I love him. All right. So these guys are all getting together. Maybe we should talk a little bit about what happened now, and then maybe we can return to some of these dudes. So what does happen? It's May Day, right? 1950.
Yes, it's May Day. But this was being organized for about a month, and they brought Gitlow and Kornfeeder to town, and they staged like a sort of press rehearsal or a certain amount of events for the press the night before, and then they staged the so-called raiding parties or whatever. Uh-huh. So they got a bunch of local and I think national legionnaires, like, I don't know, just normal members, dressed them up as Soviets, full on with like hammer and sickle armbands
Yeah.
and helmets and propaganda banners, and they had a couple Humvees and stuff. And then in the morning, they go out and just start taking over the town, basically.
Yeah.
I think the first thing they did was arrest the mayor. They show up at his house, and there's photos of this, of him being like, and I don't know if he was acting or what, but he looked like he wasn't prepared for it. He's in his
you're right.
nightgown, and they're pulling him out at gunpoint of the front door of his house. And then they go get the the chief of police, Carl Gewis, I think, in the same way. And they take them to Red Square, I think they called it. I can't remember what it was called originally.
They're not being very creative on it. It's almost certainly Red Square. You know what I mean? It's either that or just like Pinko Kami Square. Like they're not going to be subtle.
No, there is no subtlety here.
No subtlety.
And so they parade them to Red Square. They organize like a town meeting where like the conceit is all the townspeople are mandated to be at the square for an official event, and they announce on a podium ringed by legionnaires holding rifles and in front of a megaphone. I think this is Zach Kornpeter who does this. They announce the takeover of the town and the establishment of the USSA, the United Soviet States of America.
Sweet.
And denounce Kronenwetter and Gewis, the mayor and chief of police, as like the enemy of the people. And I think they staged like a mock execution in the square.
All right.
Well, you big galoot, we have you here, and we want you to do a little job for us. Are you going to bring the police over to the revolution, or are you going to insist on being an American?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Now, you know we have no use for the police. If you don't do it, what's your last word?
Never.
And he was shot.
Damn.
I don't know how far that went, but
I would have loved if they just straight up liberated the prisons.
Right? Yeah. That kind of gets at some of the stuff the Communist Party of Wisconsin said in response to this. Just like, so this is supposed to be communism, and what they're doing to portray communism is just kind of what like the Legion supports actually doing in America. Rounding up communists and instituting loyalty oaths and all that crap.
So you got the guys getting executed on Red Square or whatever they're calling it, and you've also got signs being transformed all over the place too, right? Like shop signs and things.
Yeah. The movie theater, they put on this whole new marquee showing a film about the trial of Cardinal Mindszenty.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a bit of a deep cut for the Cold War fans out there, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him, but I don't know. It's all just like everything about this, the way they went about it, and the specifics of like the propaganda stuff they printed. It's all just everything that was swirling around at this time makes its way in there in some way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they take over the movie theater. They take over the shops. They hang banners over the town.
Some signs. I remember you showed me a video, and you can clearly see in the window of a diner that the only thing available is now borscht.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. They set up a soup line where they would hand out borscht was the main thing, and then like as like a bit, they're like, you can have this other thing, but it's 100,000 times the price or something. Like that.
Was it beer cheese soup? Are you familiar?
It's Wisconsin, so yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Probably.
Yeah, buddy.
But yeah, they hung banners. They, I think, print or like screen print. I don't know what you call it. Screen printed on the windows of like the grocery stores, and gave kids armbands and stickers like in the shape of a red star type thing. They, I think, changed the like price tags and labels and stuff on the shelves of the grocery store.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah.
How many people do you think were involved on the back end of this, on the sort of backstage part of this? And it really complicated. They transformed a city genuinely like a Hollywood set. It really does feel that way.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen an official number or anything, but it had to have been like 100 guys.
I wonder if it was just a bunch of fucking old legionaries doing it.
No, yeah, it definitely was. It was like the people who were playing soldiers were mostly like, they looked like younger legionnaires. They were all legionnaires. I don't think there were anyone that like actively participated on the back end of it that weren't legionnaires.
Aha. Okay. Okay.
Some certain townspeople took part, like the mayor and the police chief, people like that. And I think the other people who weren't legionnaires who participated kind of just like went along with it. Like, for example, nuns and priests and stuff who they put behind this impromptu like barbed wire fence that they called or they didn't call it the concentration camp. They called it something else.
Gulag, probably, huh? Something like this.
Sort of like that. I don't know. They kept it keeps happening where they like, I don't know, it seems like they remember, oh, we could be a little bit more subtle, and so they call it the like holding camp or something like that instead of concentration camp, just to avoid the like direct Holocaust connotation or something.
Or you know, with these guys, they might just be thinking, listen, we might need concentration camps in the future. I don't want it associated with communism, you know, because it's going to make them look bad.
Right.
Who knows with this crowd? But they're having fun, and that's what's important, right?
They are having fun. They had a lot of fun.
Do you get the sense that there's like an audience participant distinction, or is it just if you're there, you're in it?
Well, I think it was just a small enough town and the mayor and police chief were going along with it.
Sure, I guess you don't have a choice.
There wasn't so much. Yeah, they just kind of either were there or like you might as well go along with it. I think they were told a couple like townspeople were notified that it would be happening a couple nights before for the most part.
Oh God, you'd hope so. Oh my God,
people
could get fucking
that
shot.
Surely missed some people.
Yeah,
and that there were a couple blurbs about people being like genuinely shocked and afraid, which like kind of understandable, I guess. You're just like some, I don't know, random person in a tiny little Wisconsin town, and a lot of the people there didn't speak English who worked at the paper mill, and so
but I bet a lot of people are carrying too, you know. It's not without risk, this.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, there were some people, basically anyone who didn't want to participate, they just chose to leave town for the day and go to the slightly larger city of Wausau, like half an hour away. Yeah, and just spent the day there. There were some people who were just like, I'm not having this shit. I'm out of here.
Oh, man. Damn. No, this is insane. This is an insane thing to do.
I know, right? Yeah, I literally, when I first came across this story, I did a double take reading it in some article online and like, oh my God, is this real? I think I literally said that out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. And the stuff, I've been privileged to see some of the stuff you've continued to dig up, and it just gets realer and realer the more you find. Like, let's talk about also the media representation of it, because this thing was filmed. Was it, I don't know if it was like televised or, it did get out to the main media sphere and a lot of people saw it. You mentioned papers already, but what about television, film, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there's some newsreel footage of it. I've had a hard time tracking down like origins on specifically filmed stuff. Like There's a 3-ish minute long newsreel thing narrated by an obviously very sympathetic or aligned person. I don't know exactly what that was. I think it's like movie tone news, but I'm not too familiar with how newsreel type things of the time worked.
I just know what I saw on Roger Rabbit.
I don't know what you're referencing, unfortunately. But there were tons of cameramen. I am positive somebody was filming the whole thing. Somebody somehow had a color home movie camera.
Oh, wow.
Got some footage of it.
Nice.
But yeah, in 1950, they had a home video camera in color.
Damn. Somebody had
maybe that was like the movie theater owner or something.
Could be.
But Life magazine sent I think Arthur Miller, a famous photographer, and multiple people throughout the day comment that he probably took thousands of pictures, and they did a full, like, 4-page, full color photo spread of it. I can't remember. I think maybe June issue of Life magazine that year.
Okay.
And I actually have like 190-ish of those photos, and those photos are really good. Like, I think that might be why it looked so well, that and the production value of all the ephemera they made, but the photos he took are pretty incredible.
All right. For anybody who is unfamiliar, at this time, Life would still have been run by Nazi sympathizer Henry Luce, who probably fucking loved this.
Yeah, I bet. So there's Life magazine. New York Times printed a large story about it. A lot of the like hundreds of printed stories were just like syndicated and reprinted versions of other publications pages about it. But I think there may have been a short-ish documentary or like a filmed version of it made, because there's clips of that in other documentaries that are just like about the Cold War or whatever. But I have not really had much luck tracking down the full thing or more video footage of it other than that.
Not for lack of trying, and hopefully somebody listening here might have a friend who has a friend, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows? Send us a message if that's true. So we got the performance, we got the press, we got people filming. What was your sense of the public reaction, both in Mosinee and beyond, after this, if you have any information on that?
Yeah, the public reaction of just the like people of the town mostly seemed like bemusement. There were some people who were like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize this is how it could go down. We better be careful." And
yeah,
but honestly,
also,
I think that
also, how did it go down? Because that's not really established, right?
Right. But mostly bemusement. A lot of people were just going along with it to have fun for the most part. And then there's, I would say, probably about half who were just like, this is kind of stupid. This is ridiculous. These guys are really hamming it up. Making a fool of themselves. And it seems like the younger you go, like the people in the town who were a part of it or witnessing it, the younger they were at the time, the more they thought it was kind of stupid or ridiculous.
Good.
But also, it seemed like older people, like elderly people, also kind of weren't taking it all that seriously.
Okay.
It kind of seemed like it was mostly like the core participants, like Bill Schweinler and Carl Decker. I don't think I mentioned him yet. He's another Legionnaire guy. They were recent, like World War II veterans, and were becoming more prominent in the Legion at the time, like taking leadership positions and stuff. They were the ones that seemed like that age group, at least. They seemed more in it.
Sure.
And
sure.
There's a bunch of interview notes from another person who was trying to make a film about this or a documentary about this, interviewing people who were in like middle school or high school at the time. And another part of the event I didn't mention, they took over the high school.
Right. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. And they gave a speech in the auditorium that was mandatory and announced things like the role of the youth is to love violence if it's done in the name of the state.
Sorry.
I think they literally said that in the radio.
That's hilarious. That's amazing. That's also literally what Revelo P. Oliver told these fucking GOP kids when he started the National Youth Alliance. He's got this whole speech where he's like, the point of the youth is to die at the pass of Roncesvalles. You know, it's so, oh my God, it's total projection. It's awesome.
I know, right? Yeah. That you wait till you listen to the whole radio broadcast. Like, it's that type of thing, just over and over. Like, these guys are just telling on themselves.
Young workers and students of the Mosinee High School, I come here to speak on behalf of the Young Communist League, the mass organization of the youth and young workers in America. It is the revolutionary organization of the youth that is tied closely to the Communist Party of the United Soviet States of America, which was established this morning. Young communists must become the stalwarts among communist professional revolutionists. They must root out the enemies of the communist state and the Communist Party. They must be prepared to inform against their brothers, mothers, fathers, and sisters any attitude or any act of theirs inimical to the communist state. Young communists have no illusions about peace. They believe in violence. Their God is power. Our great leader Stalin has called upon the young communists, in whose hands the future rests, to have hearts of steel, to be fanatical in their zeal for communism, to stand by one party and one leader, to recognize that the Soviet state rules over the people and not for the people.
We must protect against the corrupt capitalist democracy and just, it's crazy.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so yeah, they took the high school. They took the they did some book burning. I swear I saw that. Am I wrong?
No, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Another really good clip you could use. I think maybe the most John Wayne character is, I don't know who it was exactly, but this guy you can hear in the radio broadcast accosting these 3 or so random female library patrons. This Legion guy comes up to them.
What do you have here, lady? Where did you obtain this book?
On this table.
Did you know what it contained before you read it?
No.
Lucky for you. This book teaches that religion is important. It teaches that religion is the basis for our freedoms. And you know that is not true. Well, answer me, lady.
Yes, sir.
And you know that religion is the opiate of the people.
Yes, sir.
And you believe that?
Yes, sir.
Well, you answer a little more promptly than the other two have. I believe that with a little training, you will cooperate.
Yes, sir.
And you want to cooperate?
Yes, sir.
This book is utter rot. It will be burned.
And then just repeatedly is going like, could you respond a little bit faster? And the women are just like, yes, sir. Well, do it next time then. And goes on and on like that.
Yeah.
And so they pull the books out of their hands and inspect them. And then they do a full inspection of the library in full view of the press and the townspeople. And they take everything they say is subversive or whatever off the shelves. And there's footage of, I think it's Cornfeeder standing on the steps of the library, chucking a handful of books down the stairs. And then one of the last events of the day is a parade. And at the end of the parade, they chuck the books, not the books that they took out of the library, but like the communist books and the propaganda flyers and all that in the middle of the town square and burn them.
But they just literally did a whole thing about how that's bad. And then at the end of this, they just do that thing.
They do that, and then they have everyone do a group rendition of the national anthem or the Star Spangled Banner.
Did anybody sing the International at the beginning?
Oh, I don't know.
They probably didn't know.
Probably.
Yeah. They hummed something and what they thought was Russian. Okay.
They did do, they got the high school band to be a part of the parade. I don't know exactly what they were playing, but they did play something. And they were escorted by armed Legion dudes down the street.
Those rules. And again, there's not really an explanation for how the presumed it's either that they're Soviets who invaded or that if you are a communist, you just become Russian somehow. I guess those are the two implications. You can pick your story, but the idea is that it was an invasion, but there's no counterinsurgency, right? There's nobody fights back. They never retake the town in this performance, and there's never really an explanation for how they got to in this environment, Mosinee, Wisconsin. Right. So it lacks a story, which is kind of what makes it even more of a LARP. Like it's more of a condition that you get to play in for a while in full costume and carry the weapons around and stuff. But as far as kind of right-wing fantasy goes, it doesn't even rise to meet like the Red Dawn sort of thing, you know?
No. Yeah, you would think, especially bringing in like, because I think Gitlow may have had some involvement with like the production of other like anti-communist films.
It shows.
Because he was a very prominent guy. He was active all over the country, from like New York to LA. You'd think they would have more of an eye for like making this, I don't know if believable is the right word, but just
giving a shit about the plot.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very mixed up. The like what exactly is supposed to be happening here? Like, did they just like, were they local communists who just swore allegiance to Stalin? They say this over and over in the speeches, like Stalin is the leader, and they printed Stalin is the leader exactly on signs that people held and shit like that. But then it's implied that these were like local communists, but I don't know. It's very confused.
Because they didn't, when you hear him speak, they just speak American, right? They're not putting on like an accent or something.
Well, for the most part, with Cornfeeder, I can't tell if he's doing an accent or if he has an accent, honestly, but
just got hit in the head a lot.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, he and Gitlow were like arch ex-communist, like communism expert types. Like they would be brought in by the, say what?
You can tell. I mean, they're so accurate. The borscht. How did they know?
I know, right? But like they were like actual ex-communist people, like Cornfeeder, maybe Cornfeeder and Gitlow, at least one of them was trained at like the whatever the institute was called for training officials of the Soviet Communist Party in Moscow. They were trained in Moscow and they were active in setting up various parts of communism in America, at least at some level. And
so they
have their own org.
So they were ex-party, for sure, or at least this guy.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. There's a bunch of people like that in this period that are coming out and finding their outlets. You know, like the Regnery publishing empire would pick up every one of these guys they could find to get to write something. But yeah, please go on.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about, or just hear more about the story of Gitlow and Cornfeeder.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Keith Allen Dennis.
Shout out.
Because he spent a lot of time at the Hoover Institution archives, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the Gitlow papers are there.
Ooh, all right.
And I heard mentioned by one of the guys who helped me get my hands on that radio broadcast and some of the home movie footage. I reached out to him. He's a scholar, historian, documentary filmmaker, James Kimball. Shout him out here.
Yeah.
He mentioned that there was some stuff in the Gitlow papers about this event. He didn't give me any specifics on that, but
no, it's a good hint.
Mm-hmm. And then Cornfeeder, I think he took a larger like speaking role in the event. I think he may have been like more actively like party person, like Communist Party.
Interesting. Ooh, I want to know so much more.
Yeah, there's a lot more paths you could go down for research on this, and I do want to do that. It's just, I don't know, got to stop at some point.
It's true.
For telling this specific story, at least, you know?
It's true. It helps if you make yourself a podcast and have to have some kind of release schedule. You don't get to choose to keep reading, you know?
True.
Yeah. I want to just point out, too, that there is a lot about this event that reflects sort of what will become conventions of the literary genre I like to call fashfic, which is which you find in also Red Scare films as well, of course, but it's not necessarily there in Red Scare films. Like, what I mean to say is, like the fantasy of having already lost to your enemies, you know, without having this kind of cathartic retaking or something like that, or ultimate victory, just the fantasy of having lost. And I don't know what it necessarily does for them. I guess it makes them feel like they can just do whatever they want now. But, you know, I don't want to draw too hard a conclusion there. I just thought this was thematically kind of unifying in that way, that you don't get, the Soviets don't get their comeuppance. They're just suddenly gone and everybody's burning Marxist texts, right? Singing
the town casts up their chains and they see the light. It
Somehow.
was only a day. I don't know.
Somehow. Yeah. There's no attention paid to that. It's
no, very strange.
And, you know, and this also reflects what would follow, because this is just 1950, you know, so we're not even really at the peak necessarily of this so-called Second Red Scare. Yeah, like that's still coming. Like you still have the show trials. You still the reality of this hadn't totally set in with everybody yet, you know. And like McCarthy's kind of new on the scene, but nonetheless, right here, you showed me a picture of a bunch of dude bros riding around in a car that said what on the door?
McCarthy's
Boys or something like that?
Cold Warriors, and then under that in parentheses, Joe's Boys.
Joe's Boys, yeah.
And they're in this like convertible silver car, and yeah. And this is May 1950, and you mentioned in the beginning that speech McCarthy gave in West Virginia, and I think that was just like 3 months prior.
That was February. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But McCarthy, he was prominent locally in Wisconsin before then, but
sure.
Like not to the point that people are putting his names on cars like that.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe the rise to fame was just so meteoric after that speech, which was. But
I gotta say, from all these pictures of like the library getting tossed up and the execution of the police chief on the street and all this, the scariest picture you showed me was of Joe's Boys. Those guys legit scared me to look at.
Yeah, those are the pictures that just have been stuck in my head. Like
for real, yeah.
Like who are these guys? And
who did they end up killing? Yeah.
What's in the trunk?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, fuck that. One other thing, maybe just to add, was I was really intrigued by their depiction of the party boss in this. That he really seemed to have picked up those aspects that were being developed in film around the same time, or like just the year before. Like there's definitely a cultural continuity here that really all comes together in Mosinee for the most insane Mayday I think anyone's ever planned.
And the guy who was the party boss there, like in the photos at the podium and all that, I think he was Cornfeeder, who actually was like a party guy at one point.
Yeah.
And this all makes me, because him and Gitlow, they seem to be just kind of like on call by the National Americanism Committee or Americanization Commission or whatever.
They had the Americanism. Oh God, what was it called? Committee or something. But the Americanism thing, that was their sort of propaganda arm, really, as well as
right.
Yeah.
And these guys just seem to, I think, one, do a lot of stuff with them and just kind of be on call. And so it makes me wonder how much of that archetype and the film convention, like with I Married a Communist, Woman on Pier 13, how much maybe the Americanism Committee might have played a role in creating that convention.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they had, because I remember in the Legion episodes that you did on your last show, you talked about the Hollywood post a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I just wonder how much crossover there is
Gerald and Lorna, I think that was their names.
It sounds right. Yeah.
The American Legion is its own. I mean, that's its own damn study. But people really today still surprised to hear that they had their start in what they themselves identified as kind of the American version of fascism back in the day. And then during the 40s and into the 50s, they fully embraced the Red Scare. I mean, they picked from everywhere. You had like Clarence Mannion stuff. You had like Eventually, you'd have John Birch Society literature going through.
Mhm.
I don't really know when they took a backseat on that. I'm guessing probably, I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know when they chilled the
I
fuck
don't
out,
know.
but they did eventually
think
kind of
in-
chill the fuck out.
Yeah, I think also though they're just such a huge organization that they can be multiple things
Oh, yeah.
at the same time. Like one part of the country's legion could be fully into the Red Scare stuff and the
Sure.
loyalty oaths and
Yep.
suppression of radicals and all that, while another part might be more liberal. But
It's true. No, that was true. There were absolutely struggles for the identity of the Legion going on. Hence, like the exposés and stuff that would come out. Like these were part of that process. But I can say that the leadership, at least through the late 40s, and now, I think it's pretty clear from the Mosinee example that into the 50s, they remained really into the program.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I don't know. There's so much you could research about the American Legion. I want to look more into the Wisconsin Legion because there were some things that really surprised me about, I don't know, what they supported and stuff, policy-wise. But then they'll turn around and be the main proponent of the loyalty oaths and the Hatch Act or whatever it is.
Yeah, these from the 40s right before.
All that stuff. Yeah.
So Nick, anything else you want to kind of add to the story before we kind of wrap up? I think we got the idea. This crazy LARP happened. It was kind of fun / scary, as I guess you'd want a LARP to be, and it really connected a lot of power players early on that were not necessarily going to be federal officials. Maybe did we have any kind of federal officials involved in this at all?
I don't think so.
Seems like it was mostly private and like Legion and these sorts of, not non-state or parastate kind of institutions, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Really, what a fucking crazy event. I wish I knew what happened to the Mosinee communists or the Wisconsin ones during the 50s. What happened to them? I'm sure they didn't make it out intact. I mean, very few people did then, but
the ones or the leaflet. Maybe you can put it in the show notes that was left on people's doorsteps that came from the Wisconsin Communist Party. They were headquartered in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee has had socialist mayors and stayed pretty progressive.
That's true.
So they had their whole own Red Scare type of thing. So I think they kept going, but definitely around this time, it became really, like, I don't know, just less safe, but less okay in general to be openly a communist. And so I feel like a lot of those guys kind of just maybe changed their rhetoric a little bit. Yeah. Oh, random thing I wanted to mention.
Great.
In the radio broadcast, towards the end, there's a short interview by the radio broadcaster, Carl Cederberg. He interviews the chief of police of Detroit and the head of the Detroit Police Training Academy, who apparently came from Detroit to witness the event. And in the interview in this radio broadcast, the chief of police is saying, yeah, this is really insightful stuff for like how something like this might happen here. And the whole time he's saying this, he sounds like very audibly drunk. And
it shows, or it demonstrates to me that a well-organized group, a group that has a positive purpose, can be trained and through surprise and proper training move in comparable numbers to any community, and using that the factors of surprise and organization take over almost any community in the United States.
Well, then you would consider the fact that the communists, even though Mosinee is a small city and Detroit is a much larger one, by the same methods could come in and do the same thing.
Well, the surprise is the method of operation, a part of the operation.
And like, like, what could he possibly have been learning from this? I don't know. But in relation to that, you brought up the woman on Pier 13.
Yeah.
Uh, and I re-listened to that episode a while
Oh
ago,
yeah, oldie.
and
Yeah.
somebody brought up the relation of this time period, like that the film came out, to the Great Strike Wave that happened post World War II.
Yeah.
And I didn't read too much about that in relation to this whole Mosinee thing, but
No, that's a good point,
I
actually. Yeah.
would like to look into that a little bit more.
Yeah, the
Like
pressure
what
was
was
on.
happening in Detroit that motivated these guys to go for this event in Wisconsin. Maybe there had been a strike at the paper mill. I don't know what the labor scene was like in north central Wisconsin at the time, but I don't know.
Well, I'd be curious too. I would be curious too. I'm also curious about, which sort of ethnic or racial minorities might have been in the area at the time, and how did they perceive it, from their perspective. I'm sure it was fucking weird and terrifying, but who knows? Maybe it was a party. There was soup, so at least we can say that.
Yep, can't have a party without borscht.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe I'll throw in a couple other random things here.
Yeah, bring them.
So in that book, I mentioned or a chapter of which was one of the main secondary sources. The book, The Russians Are Coming, Pageantry and Patriotism in Cold War America. Other chapters are about other like anti-Mayday or like anti-communist Mayday events. Some of them trying to like take over Mayday or subvert the meaning or just take the streets from the communists, basically. Like, for example, Loyalty Day, Law Day, and there's several other similar type events. None with quite the like showmanship of this, but those events are detailed in that book, and I think they're super interesting. And then in the immediate aftermath of the Mosinee takeover thing, there were a couple attempted like copycat events. There was one put on by Legion guys in Hartley, Iowa, which I live in Iowa, but I've never heard of it. I don't know how many people live there or anything. I read a little bit about it in a local paper, but it seems like the like national press coverage kind of like people got their fill of this type of thing, and so it didn't really go off as well. Didn't become a big thing. Any of the copycat things.
Mm-hmm.
And then in one of the interviews, I think done by James Kimball and Thomas Rondinella, I think they were making a documentary, that American Mayday one I sent you the poster for.
Yes.
In one of the interviews, they were interviewing people, like probing for sources or things they could consult for their documentary. And one of them mentions that at some point in upstate New York, Legion took over a series of towns for a period of 2 weeks. But he says he only saw that in a book and couldn't find proof for that. And I have no idea what he's talking about at all. But I really want to, if that happened, I need to know more. This little bit maybe I should have mentioned earlier, but I guess towards the end of the event, I think it was in the parade to Red Square at the end of the day to cast off their shackles. The mayor, Ralph Cronenwetter, had a heart attack.
No.
And he died the night after.
What?
He died the night after, and then the reverend of a local like Presbyterian or Methodist church was also dead in the days following.
What?
Yeah, and there's a little bit in the American Legion magazine, their monthly magazine. It's just like this little blurb stuck at the bottom of the story, laying out how he got too excited and he dropped dead, and nothing much to say about it, I guess.
What the fuck?
Just yeah.
He LARPed too hard.
Oh
no. It was all that vodka, I guess. Fuck, that's insane. They had casualties even. Okay, so they invited in, like, they brought Soviets into town, and then they lost 2 locals. I feel like the Soviets are still winning somehow on that count.
Yeah, they accidentally propagandized communism to a bunch of middle school and high school students.
Yeah, giving them free food, a day off school, and some cool new armbands.
Yeah, showing them how silly the American Legion is.
Well, we can burn books? Yeah. Oh, damn. Well, good for them, you know. I'm personally glad they did it. It's quite an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely worth some attention and research, and just some, you know, basic enjoyment of just looking at some of their ridiculous propaganda and watching them do their thing with these shit-eating grins on their face while the mayor's got a day left to live. Oh my god. It's so messed up.
Okay. It's nice to have some fun with the otherwise bleak and sinister history of American anti-communism.
Yeah.
And the Red Scare and whatnot.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we do here. Nick. We laugh the tears away. So do you have anywhere you might want to send people to stay apprised of your secret project progress? Or should we, do you want to just wait until it's ready to go and we'll just blast it all out at the same time? How do you feel?
Well, I wouldn't call it a secret project per se, but...
He's taking over Mosinee, people. We've got the prop department working day and night. We're going to execute the mayor.
We could just put my YouTube channel. You could put that in the show notes or something.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. People can just keep track of it, and then when when you're ready to go, you let me know and we'll watch it. It's gonna be good.
Cool.
There's not, again, just to point out, like, there isn't a lot of kind of singular focused media projects on this. Nick became aware that there was even like a planned documentary that didn't go through. Like, there's been attempts. May this one go better than previous ones.
Indeed.
All right, Nick.
But yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, thank you. And you know what?
Long-time fan.
Well, I wanted to say this is perfect that you're coming on May Day week because you've been with us kind of from the beginning. You've helped out with some early research for Keith, and Keith passed it on to me. And so I wanted to thank you too for being exactly what I like about this show, having people on that are taking it on their own initiative to do scholarly work, to do archival work, to come up with some way to tell these very forgotten stories that probably people would very much wish we would forget. But we got our Nicks, we got our Keiths, et cetera. And we've also got something, I hope next week, another pretty interesting piece of forgotten labor history. And then towards the end of the month, Nick's going to join our guest we're going to have next week to sort of, answer any listener questions, provocations. We do this live tavern meeting thing for Houston's Tavern member patrons. And that will be available to all patrons afterwards, but that's at the end of the month. So, Nick, thanks a lot for this. And man, I can't wait to see what you come up with here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to come on for that.
Okay.
That was for you. I know you love them.
Oh, yeah.
All right, bye.
We're living in a country that's the finest place on earth, but some folks don't appreciate this land that gave them birth. I hear that up in Washington they're having an awful fuss, 'cause communists and spies were making monkeys out of us. The bureaus and departments have been busy night and day. They're figuring out just how we gave our secrets all away. And Congress has appointed a committee, so they said, to find out who's American and who's a low-down red. They call them up to Washington to speak for Uncle Sam. But when they ask them what they are, they shut up like a clam. I wish they'd take and put me on the witness stand today. I'd yell so loud old Stalin could hear me all the way. I'm no communist, I'll tell you that right now. I believe a man should own his own house and car and cow. I like this private ownership, I want to be left alone. Let the government run its business and let me run my own.